Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we're doing a box office preview for this upcoming weekend, which sees the early release of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which has already made quite a bit of money and is right now doing better than expected. So the original, $250 million or so opening weekend, which had been projected, let's just say that it probably will get a little bit higher. Maybe it was at 225. Either way, this film is set to make quite a bit of money, especially since the budget for the film has been released. And just as I thought and suspected that it might, this film clocks in around $100 million, which still a lot of money, is definitely on the lower end of a lot of other animated films and big feature films, especially when you look at how much Disney puts into a lot of their films, usually costing upwards of $200+ million. That means that this weekend alone is likely going to easily break even for the Mario Brothers movie. Very, very good start for the actual film. So we'll talk about that and also talk about some of the other projected numbers for the new film Air, but mostly talking here about the Super Mario Brothers movie and what this means for the chances of it reaching $1 billion are. Before we get further, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, smash the Rumble button as well. Also make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with the bell notification on, that way you know every time the video or live stream goes live on the channel. So as you can see, the headline from Deadline, Nancy, old Nance over there on Deadline, is saying here that it has scored $66 million globally on its first day of release. It had said that it had a peachy debut. Don't you love the punny jokes? With $34.7 million through yesterday at the international box office, adding that to the domestic the domestic take as well. That brings it to $66.4 million as far as the estimated numbers for its opening day. $31.7 million coming in for the domestic marketplace. And so with that being said, this film is indeed doing quite well, and they are projecting this film to continue to do well in a lot of different countries. As it says right here, Mexico led play on Wednesday with $5.9 million, the biggest debut for a Universal title ever, and the second biggest animated opening of all time behind Toy Story 4. Now, of course, that's without adjusting for inflation, so you can definitely take those metrics with a grain of salt. Still, the film doing quite well. Next up, China delivered $4.7 million. That's right, Universal and Illumination do indeed release their films and typically have had a good relationship with the Chinese Communist Party, so just keep in mind that means probably hundreds of millions of dollars, when everything is said and done, are going to be going to them with this movie. And as you all know, I call out all the films that do dealings with that. Still, Mario is set for the biggest opening day for Hollywood animation since the start of the pandemic, as well as the second biggest opening day for a studio title in 2023. It has a 9.4 score on the Mauen. So again, that is the rating system that is used over there. So still very much highly rated amongst the people who have gone to see this film so far in China. So we can only expect that number to continue to grow. So overall, a very good start in the international marketplace. Domestically, still also starting off pretty strong with $31.7 million. Right now, they've actually adjusted the numbers to say they expect the film to make $141 million in the 5-day totals. Originally, they were projecting that movie to make around $125 million in the 5-day numbers. And so what this actually does is this actually puts this right in line with the projections that I was making as far as the comparisons between this and another film from Illumination Studios, which was The Rise of Gru, Minions: The Rise of Gru, from just last year. Obviously, a lot of people are still not liking the fact that I'm using that as a comparison because they, again, I think rightly point out that Nintendo and Mario especially is a major factor and is a major popular character across the world, much more so than the Minions. But do keep in mind, the Minions are also quite popular as well. They have also invaded pop culture. They've also become very big, specifically in the movie industry, whereas Mario has been able to pervade pretty much every single aspect of culture and every other medium, or the vast majority of mediums, other than actual film up until now. So that's the reason why I'm still holding back whether or not the film I think is going to get to $1 billion. It's still a possibility, but I just, again, based off of the numbers that I'm seeing in the comparison between this and that of the Rise of Gru, that's the reason why I'm still holding back at this point in time. In addition to that, no film has gotten to $1 billion. That's an animated film since 2019. Looking at the overall estimates coming out from Box Office Pro. They finally put these out. They are projecting right now $112 million for the 3-day and $164 million in total for the 5-day opening weekend for the film. So again, very strong numbers here coming from them. But remember, they do use a range. So they're ranging somewhere between 95 and 127, somewhere between 140 and 185. They tend also to use overall online sentiment and social media posts, etc. And that's not always the most reliable. As you all know, there's been a plethora of films that have been projected to do X amount of money and have either under or overperformed. So we could still see this film make less or more than this number. What I do find interesting, though, and something that's a very huge positive for this film, is, as I've said, we do now know that the budget for the film is $100 million. And so, with that being the case, using my typical standards of 2.5 times the budget being the break even, that means the film needs to make around $250 million worldwide to break even. And if you use a much more rigorous metric, I know that sometimes people have been using a 3 times multiplier, then that means the film just needs to make somewhere between $250 and $300 million. If the film is set to make between $225 and $250 million in its opening weekend, that means it's going to hit the low end of its break-even point, and in very short order is going to be able to easily pass up even the higher end. So what does that all mean? It means that this film is going to make a crap ton of money no matter which way you decide to spin it. I mean, this film is going to be a massive success, right? Even if, and right now, or early reactions from audiences are quite good, that, let's just say randomly it just all of a sudden turned sour, or the, overall word of mouth began to drop very quickly, then even then, this film would still be able to make a lot of money just based off of the very nature of the box office beast. Either way, though, this is still doing very well, very strong start for just one day. And as I said, probably going to be able to hit its break-even point, maybe even make some profit by this coming Sunday. I'm doing this video now, by the way, on Holy Thursday. Blessed Holy Thursday, blessed Easter Triduum to everyone out there. The reason why is because I'm going to be out of town starting from tomorrow, and so since I'll be on the road tomorrow and then not be able to do my typical box office breakdown most likely on Sunday, I won't be able to do that until Monday. And so I wanted to give this a little bit of a precursor that, yeah, Super Mario Brothers is going to dominate the weekend, and there is a very good chance that it actually even breaks even if not that, then makes profit. So go ahead and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and also that you're following me on social media, because I'm sure I'll be able to get some type of update to this chart and be able to share that in the meantime before doing a full actual breakdown. Looking at the individual numbers, as you can see, for its opening day at over 4,000 screens, $31.7 million. Again, very impressive numbers there, $7,900 per screen. So for that to be on a Wednesday especially, again, obviously there are some people off for spring break, etc. Still very impressive numbers nonetheless. We also have some early numbers for Air at $3.2 million. That film not projected to make a whole lot of money this weekend, expected to come in underneath that of John Wick Chapter 4 and that of Dungeons & Dragons, which is expected by Box Office Pro to have a 63% drop. But again, that is based off of the weekend estimates, not on what it's doing in the daily numbers. So still film doing well, but because of its massive budget, it is definitely falling behind. If this had the same type of release that Mario did, we wouldn't be having that discussion of this being a still very strong likelihood of being a flop. But because it did have a weaker than that of Mario and other films with a larger budget than Mario, that's why this film still very much set to be a flop at this point in time. Looking at the actual numbers themselves for, again, the worldwide numbers for the Super Mario Brothers movie at $66.4 million. I did want to also just bring up this bit of comparison, because this is going to be the film that I'm going to have as the ultimate comparison between the two, and that is with this and Minions Rise of Gru. Minions Rise of Gru cost around $20 million less, had an opening weekend, and again, this is the 3-day opening weekend of $107.0 million. Now, here is where I think the big factor needs to come into play, and this is something that I've mentioned in previous videos. It was the 5-day total, right? So if the first 5 days, again, Super Mario Brothers film is getting a 5-day opening release, and it's expected to get up right now, projected to get to $140 million. That number could go up, that number could go down. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if it either stays the same or goes slightly up. At the same time, as far as days in release, 5 days of release, we see right here that the Minions Rise of Gru was also at 140.6. So that would still put this film in line domestically to probably end up in a very similar capacity, a very similar light to that of Minions Rise of Gru at the very least. So we're looking at the film being well north of $350 million domestically. The film could obviously make a lot more, especially if the word of mouth on it's pretty good. Keep in mind that the Minions Rise of Gru word of mouth was also still pretty strong. People may not want to hear that. People may not like it. I know I had no interest in seeing it. I have never seen it, and I have no desire to go see it. Still, families in general very much like this movie. That's why it made over $900 million worldwide. That's why I suspect that for the Super Mario Bros. Film, over $900 million, I think, is going to be a pretty easy feat for the film to be able to accomplish. The question is whether or not it's going to be able to pass it up to such a degree, whether it be internationally, whether it be domestically. As I said, right now, it's still pacing pretty well, right? These early numbers, especially from the international market, are a very strong sign and a very good sign that this film is likely going to overtake the numbers that were done in similar areas as Rise of Gru was, but we still just don't know yet at this point in time. And so all we can go based off of is the furthest extent that we have, and that is the projected 5-day numbers. Compare those to the 5-day numbers for Rise of Gru, and that's the reason why we are currently, and why I am still holding to the film making a crap ton of money, because again, $100 million is its budget, $250 million is its break even. So even if this film only does get to $950 million, you're still talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in net gain profit. Easily enough justification for this movie to be able to continue on as a franchise, having spin-offs, etc. And maybe you do see over time those other films, if this film for any reason doesn't get to $1 billion, maybe those films will have that potential as the market continues to recover, again, from a lot of the family audiences still, staying home in many situations for the most part, especially in comparison to, again, films from previous years. As I said, we have not had $1 billion animated film since 2019's Frozen 2. And so I think that's also a metric that needs to be brought into place. But anyway, what else thoughts about this? Do you think Super Mario Brothers is going to be able to make profit by this weekend? Signs are pointing towards yes, if these numbers continue to improve or stay about the same. Obviously, the word of mouth on this film is pretty good. I personally was not a big fan of it, but as you all know, even if I don't like a movie, I will still cover it, and I will still give you the numbers as they are indicating. So let me know your thoughts about this and anything else I've mentioned in the comment section down below. If you like this video, smash that like button, like that fire button, and honestly, smash the rumble button. Again, this will be my last official video on the channel until after Easter, so I hope everyone has a blessed Easter Triduum, a blessed Holy Thursday, a blessed Easter Sunday, and as always, God bless. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my Patreon Subscribe Star and Locals members who are at the Keeper of the Bifrost level and above. Starting off with Patreon with Father Luca Illick, Garrett Searles, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Orange Hat Reviews, who you can check out over at his YouTube channel by the same name, Laura, the Modern Major General Story, Rosetta Allen, who you can check out at her YouTube channel at Eagle Writer, and Miss Modern Muses, who you can check out at her YouTube channel by the same name as well. To my Subscribe Star people, we got Matt317, check him out on his Twitch channel by the same name, Fast Reaction, The R, Mr. Roy, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and the K-Man, and you can check out the K-Man over at xtheboundaries.co. And lastly, to my Locals members, Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan, How About a Hockey Player, J.H. Schwalbach, Brett D90, and the amazing lawyer, Robert Barnes. If you want your name shout out at the end of every video and live stream, check out the top link in the video description below to join the Keeper of the Bifrost level. You also get access to other things like a podcast that I do every month with John the Flickinger, and also I do giveaways for my Keeper of the Bifrost level people and above, and also my Chosen of Valhalla monthly stream. If any of that stuff sounds interesting, especially those giveaways, which I do give away 4K steelbooks, all kinds of stuff all month long, check out that top link. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, a blessed Easter, and as always, God bless.